So it's action time, Ollie. Can you look as if you know what's going on? Because one of us has to, and I certainly don't know what's going on. This is going to be a very interesting video. I doubt you're going to stay the course because you're going to want your food. So if nothing else goes wrong in between time, we're probably going to have to pause it. We are, because I think this is going to be a bit of a marathon. Okay, is that alright with you? Yeah? Give it your best shot. Okay then. Hi there, it's Anne of Rosie Duck Designs here. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. I'm back with a project which is quite a simple little card, but it's quite time consuming, and it's actually a little card that fits inside one of the little mini pizza boxes. I made one the other week for a friend of mine who organised an afternoon tea for a group of us, and it was such a lovely afternoon that I wanted something special to say thank you to her. So I came up with this little card in the little box, and I gave it to her, but I also put it on a number of Facebook groups that I'm on, and I've had quite a positive reaction to it, and I've had people saying that, oh, is there a tutorial? I did mention there's a little quick tutorial already, well, not tutorial, but a run through of the box on my Facebook page. No, not my Facebook page, my YouTube channel already, and I did say I would do a tutorial at some point. But the fact I've actually had people asking me for it is kind of put it up to the top of the pile a bit more. So that is what I'm going to attempt to do. One of my oldest friends' daughter has just had a little boy, so I'm wanting a baby card to send to them. So again, I wanted something special, so it's sort of kind of the timing has fitted in quite well that I need a special card. So I thought I'd make another one using a pizza box. I have prepped quite a bit of it, but I will run through with you what I've used. And as you can see, I've got 3 bags of it. Anything could happen, I have to say. I could get very confused. I have a feeling probably the tablet will run out, so it's more than likely for me to have to put a couple of videos together, and even if that doesn't happen, there are 3 cats that are going to want feeding quite shortly. So we're just going to go with it, and I'll apologise in advance. I have forgotten whatever I've forgotten. In fact, while I've just been talking, I've forgotten something, but remembered something I've forgotten. But we kind of knew that was going to happen, didn't we? So, you know, we'll just go with it. So I'm using, that's mine, not yours. I'm using a little pizza box. I love these little boxes. They're very, very versatile. They are food safe, but I've tended to use them for all sorts of things, like tea lights. You can get 4 tea lights in there. You can make some little mini notelets, so 4 little mini notelets and an envelope fit in there. I've also used them to put sort of wrapped posh chocolates in, and they are food safe, so they're about cookie size. We've not long been away, and in the room was a couple of rather nice white chocolate cookies, and if I'd have thought that one through, I should have saved it just to show how well they fit. But we ate them, I'm afraid. So, but they would have fitted in there quite well, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Never mind. So that is the made-up pizza box. That's the easy bit, Ollie. I know it's too small for you to get in there. So I have cut 3 pieces of Night of Navy at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So basically my colour scheme, because it's a little boy, is going to be Balmy Blue and Night of Navy. But there's going to be a little bit of a twist in colour a little bit later on. So I've got 3 of those, and I'm going to stick one here, and one on the top. think you're shedding your hair down from above, aren't you? I'm just going to put that on the bottom of the box. One on the lid, the underside of the lid. Now, as I said, this is a very simple card to put together, but it's a time-consuming card in all the cutting out that you need to do, and also all the decorations. So it's not a card to make in a hurry, and it's got to be, I think, for a special occasion, because otherwise it does take quite a bit of time. You couldn't be doing this every time you needed a card. I suppose you could if you had nothing else to do, but sadly none of us are in that position, are we? We all have 101 other things that we need to do during the course of a day. So centralise that. Now I've got a piece of the Balmy Blue, and that measures 2.5 by 2.5. So it's basically a lot of squares that you're working with, as well as a few ovals and other shapes, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to put that on the centre of the lid of the box. Now, some people do find that not making the box up and decorating it first works for them. I don't know why. Actually having it made up seems to work better for me, but I'm generally one step out of time, aren't I? So no, that won't surprise you. So I'm just going to add a little elephant on the top of there. Something quite simple.
Where did you get him?
I'm going to show you in a moment. Have you not seen how I make an elephant? Oh, you've missed out, haven't you? Right, there we go. It's quite cute, isn't it? Right, so we'll make the elephant next then. So I've got a piece of light navy and a piece of balmy blue, and I've got this elephant punch. Apart from, obviously, I've used some dies to cut out these circles and some squares. Most of the elephant, and there's some balloons, I've used punches with. I have to say I've used other dies in the middle of the card, but you could just make one of these with using the elephant punch and the balloon punch. So we'll go this way. So what you've got there is a big elephant, a little elephant, a small ear, a big ear, and one eye. Now the eyes actually come out. I've noticed when I've been making this that the eye sometimes doesn't come out, so you just have to tap it to make sure it comes out. But obviously if you stuck all that together, that it wouldn't really show up, so you need a contrast of his ears and his eye. So we'll just grab a piece of this. Now I'm only wanting, I'm going to put the big elephant, I'm going to put a big elephant together, so I just want a big ear and one eye. So rather than waste a lot of my card, especially as I found out this was another card that I'm running short of, so that's another order I've got to make. So you notice there the little eye has just got caught in there, so just release it like that. Now I guess the most sensible glue that you would use to stick this together would be the Tombow liquid glue, but as I have mentioned before, I have a few issues with it in that I'm messy, I get it all over my hands. So I tend to do this with snail. All I've got to do is remember not to stick anything on this side of my pad. So there's your ear. Position that there. and then you get this little eye. I'm just going to run a bit of glue, so I'm running my finger across the top of the gluey bit on top of this dispenser. I'm right-handed, so I don't think I'm going to go with my left. And I'll stick his eye there, and we have an elephant. And you can obviously do it the other way around and have a light elephant with a dark ear. So that's the elephant, and that coordinates with the little elephant stamp set. So you can also use that punch. You could, what have you found? You can use the, sorry, I'm going to have to investigate. No, don't do that. I know the desk is old and it's peeling off, but I don't need you to pull it off when we're filming. But your own agenda, haven't you? Look at all this hair. So as I was saying, you can stamp this out and then use the punch to cut out the two elephants. That's you told off. This is the plastic bit that's peeling off my very old desk, and there's a great big lump at the back there that I didn't know was loose. I don't know. What are you? Apart from being gorgeous. So that's how we made our elephant, which I've now lost, but never mind. Oh, there he is there. There we go. Let's leave him over here. So I've got my little box, and then I'm going to add to that a piece of Balmy Blue card, which I've stamped on again from here, which says "Hello little one," and I've used the balloons, which I've stamped on here in Light of Navy, and I've just coloured them in with Wink of Stella, of course. It has to be done. You wait, I've got some special glitter stuff later. You'll be well impressed with that. And I've cut that out using one of my layering oval dies. I think it was that one, which goes about 2.5 inches across, or 2.25 inches across. So it fits in to the lid. So check your lid to make sure it fits before you start cutting it out. It's always a good plan. So as we go along, you'll see I've used this set, so I won't keep getting it out of the packet because that's just going to make the video even longer. But that's one of the sets that I've used, the layering oval dies. So I'm going to put that into my lid so that as the box is opened up, we've got our first little bit of stamping. So that is our box all complete for the time being. Up there for safety. Now, which is the bit that comes next is the question. I don't think it's that one. Well, I'm not sure. Might be this one. Let's get it all out. Yes, that's my first one, I think. So let me put that over there. So I've got the card. I've now got to try and remember which way this is going. So I've cut out a card which is 3¼ by 6½. So that is my first card. Everything else right, so that's my main card. So that is definitely 3¼ by 6½. This one is very slightly, I think it was 3 3/16 by 6 5/16. I think probably the next job will be to do a blog post, but it's just so that it's very slightly smaller than your original base piece. When I did the card that's already on YouTube, I kind of cut them all the same size and just trimmed them more or less as I was sticking the card together. As I'm trying to do this as a tutorial, I'm trying to be a little bit more efficient, dare I say. Don't all laugh. But so that is very slightly smaller, just so that it folds in. So I want the card to go like that. Right, that's going at the back. I do know that. So let's do the front first. Let's try and do something I know what I'm doing. So again, I've cut this at 3 by 3. And 2½ by 2½. So I'm basically mirroring the front of the box on the front of the card. So it also uses quite a bit of glue up as well, this project, so make sure you've got enough glue. I've just had some glue turn up in my order, so at least I know I'm not going to run out of that. So I've got my same little elephant that I made earlier. Stick him on the front. Yeah, I think we'll, maybe if we can get to, possibly if I last that long, if we get to about 40, then I think we'll have to just do another video, because it was never going to be a short one, this one. So I've got another 3 by 3, and I'm going to stick that in the front here so that that mirrors the box. So we've got a copy, basically a carbon copy of what's on the front of the box. What's on the lid is going to be the first two elements of the card. So I've done exactly the same with that, and I've got that to stick onto here. Now I want this one to come down here so that it opens up. So that's going to be folded up, but then it's going to flap open here. So I need to stick this bit to there. If you wanted to, you could go that way, or you could not bother and just move on to the next layer, but I'm I'm just going with that idea at the moment. So again, you could use some double-sided tape. I'm sticking with my snail. So you need to get it up to the line, but not so that you're going over that line, because otherwise you're going to struggle to get it to fold. Is it going to be perfect? No, it probably isn't. But the dare I say wow effect of the card sort of kind of lets you off the fact that you might not have completely straight edges. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to put another one on here, again 3 by 3. And another 3 by 3 piece of Night of Navy down the bottom here. So quite a simple colour scheme going with this one. On the one that's already on YouTube, I used primarily the Press Flower designer series paper to sort of do all my backing. So sort of basic measurements for these bits that you're covering the card with are 3 by 3. So now I've got a little rabbit which I've stamped out of the Fable Friends, and I've used a mixture of Stampin' blends and Stampin' Right markers. That's the Balmy Blue is the Stampin' Right marker, and the rest of it is Stampin' blends. Now I haven't gone into shading, I've just used them as a colouring tool. I don't want to make it too complicated. So again, I've cut him out using one of the plain edged layering ovals, and then I've gone with the crinkly oval to tie it in with this, and then I've just stuck the rabbit on there, and I'm going to stick him down here. Him somewhere in the centre. And then using the Make a Difference stamp set, which has got a combination of large letters, small letters, some capitals, small numbers, large numbers, and also some punctuation marks and other bits and pieces. So it's a really good stamp set to use, and it's great for making names up and other things. I have put the baby's name, it's not 100% straight, I know, but it's not bad. And I use my Stamparatus to sort of just try and line that up, because with the 2 A's, it's sort of, I did that in 2 hits basically. And I've got his date of birth on there. So I'm just going to put that on there. On the other video, I'm not sure which one's going to go up first, but I have used that stamp on my other recent YouTube video, and I actually just use my stamping blocks then, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But the more numbers and letters you're using, I have to say the Stamparatus does help to position everything. So there we go. So that's the first layer done. So my first deliberate mistake could be that I haven't got anything to stick on here. I've got balloons, but I'm not sure I've got something to stick on here. So we might pause it at that point, and I'll go and cut a piece of light of navy out. I think that's what I wanted to put on there. And a little elephant, that's right. So I'm going to put little elephant and some balloons, but he has to have a base in which to go in. No, I can't use that. I could use that, I suppose. 3x3. Yeah, I'll use this one and I'll cut that just so that we can finish this bit off. Sounds like a plan. So I've made a little elephant up, and I've used the Balmy Blue in this instance, just with his night of navy eye and ear. And I'm going to stick him down the corner. And I'm just going to put some balloons on here that I've cut out using the balloon punch, and I've used the smaller balloon. I'll just stamp those out for you just to show you the two different sizes. So that's the big one and that's the small one, but I'm going to put two of the Balmy Blue there, and then I'm going to put a night of navy one on the top. And because you don't want, there's a lot of folding and there's a lot of things that you're sticking on the pages, so you don't, I would normally put these on with Stampin' Dimensionals, but that isn't a good idea because it's not going to shut very easily. Stick another one up there. So we've got some balloons. So that's the first piece of the card, and then I'm going to add, the next section is going to be stuck to this bit. I can just share with you the end section, which might be worth it while we're still rolling. Again, I've cut 28. It out. 28. Oh, there's a bit of extra time, isn't there? I can actually talk about the glimmer. So I've got the same measurements, just under 3 and so 3 and what did I say? 3 and 3/16 and 6 and 5/16. Same 3x3, and then I've used this stitched framelit. I've used the largest square to cut out a piece of Balmy Blue, which is going to be where our message goes. Again, I think that might be down to you to write that with your nice handwriting. And again, I've used the Make a Difference stamp set just to add the initials of the couple, and the congratulations is out of, again, the Little Elephant stamp set. And what I've done with that, I've used this new product which is in the annual catalogue, so you want that, and this is a shimmer white stamping emboss powder. So you use it exactly like you would in normal embossing powder. Use it with the Versamark, and then cover it with this, then shake off your excess and then just heat it. But instead of it just being plain white, you've got all that lovely shimmery, glimmery sort of stuff that I really like. So I can see that this is going to get used quite a bit as well. So that is my back bit, and then on my back of my card I need another elephant. I'm just going to finish it off with another elephant. slightly out of sequence, but we might as well do certain things. So I'm going to have another elephant here. He's going to be a big elephant. And I'm just going to finish off with some balloons, which I probably have already punched out, but let's just go with that. So I went whoops. My haste, I've cut the top off of that one, so there we go. So again, we're following through, we're repeating certain patterns. Here I've used the little one, but that's going to be, because on the front we've got the dark elephant in the darker blue, we're going to have the light elephant at the back. So really helpful, these punches, to get some nice effects without having to have a big shot. I have to say that I wouldn't be without my big shot, but I am aware that they're quite expensive if you don't do that much crafting, but punches are a great alternative, I have to say. I'm just going to stick that on the top there. So we've got our front bit and we've got our back bit done. So perhaps we will quit while we're ahead and we'll pause the video, and then I will sort out what else was meant to go in the middle in some sort of order, and I will be back. So to be continued. So we are now continuing with part 2 of this video, and not only do I have a director, I appear to have an assistant director as well. So this is Marley. I don't know how much input you're going to have, if I'm honest, because you've had no training, have you? But we'll see how we get on, won't we? If you don't decide to have a fight in the middle of it, we'll be fine. You're looking a bit grumpy on it. You've still got the top job. So we are, as I say, about to do part 2 of this card, and this is kind of where it gets a little bit tricky, especially as I've just gone through all my bits and pieces that I've prepped and already realised that I was 2 bits missing. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. I have to say that clearly my cameraman has been watching too many of these videos as well as filming them, because as soon as we'd finished, he says to me, "Why didn't you put any string on the elephant holding up the balloon?" And I had to admit it was quite a good idea. So what I came up with was that. So it started like that, and I think I have to concede that that was a very good idea. So I'm just going to add that to this one, and I've used one of a white gel pen. There is a chalky white pen at the back of the catalogue, which may well do the same job. I have to admit I don't own one of those, but I've got one of these white gel pens, which is fairly standard crafting material, so I'm going to go with that. And all I've done is just drawn a line under the balloon to the trunk of the elephant, and the fact that it's on the Night of Navy, it's actually showing up quite well. You're still not getting any payment. But full marks. I think it's not going to be long before you'll be having your own YouTube videos. And I'll be sitting there with the camera. So there we go, elephant holding balloons. It did get me thinking that actually if we were going to just put an elephant on a card, as I said earlier, that I would normally put that elephant on dimensionals, and if you put an elephant on dimensionals and a balloon on dimensionals, I'm digressing somewhat here, but it's fairly normal for me, isn't it? Let's grab a bit of card. If you were to put the elephant on a dimensional and the balloon on a dimensional, this piece of string out of the Sail Away Sweets, might not be giving that its correct name, but the one with the boats and the lighthouse and everything. So you might have to actually pull this apart. This does fray quite well, but in theory you could get it so that you've got a string coming from the elephant's trunk, and you've got an actual string, and some glue dots would hold that in place. Obviously you wouldn't have this bit hanging off the bottom, you would cut that accordingly, and then if you added a few more balloons around that, it would look like a bunch of balloons. So I think that's something for another project, but as I say, dimensionals aren't going to work in here. I think we're already a little bit tight on everything that's going in there. So thank you so much for that wonderful idea. And thank you for the cup of coffee, which I'm going to take a gulp of before I really get started. So we have our end of card and we have our front of card. This is the central piece of the card. So whereas I had this bit coming down, I want the second bit to go to fold outwards. So just same measurements, 3 3/16 by 6 5/16. And then just what I didn't say was, normally you would see me score along the long side and then fold it. I haven't with this. I have literally just bent the card in half and then just run it down the crease. If I'm totally honest, I couldn't work out what half of 6 5/16 was. That was all a little bit too much for me, so it was easier to do it that way. So I'm just going to make my creases nice and crisp. So I'm putting that one on top of that one. And then I'm putting that one on top of that one, I think. Because what I want it to do is do that. Now it is going to stick out a little bit here because you've got two lots of paper or card, but as I said earlier, it's more about the way the card unfolds compared to the perfection of it. So I think it works quite well like that. So the first thing I'm going to do then is to stick the white bits into place. It's, I have to say, easy to get a little bit confused as to what's being stuck to where. And that's basically the only thing that can really go wrong with this card. But even then, I have to admit, I made one a little while ago, and I did stick the wrong thing, but I kind of just added something a little bit different. I just did it a different fold. I'm just going to trim that because that is obviously slightly off. I knew my efficiency couldn't last for long. So we've got that one, and then we're going to have this one going on to there. That is folding over, and that is folding over to that. So it's a case of talk amongst yourselves while I get my brain into gear. It's not bad for somebody who doesn't have the patience to do jigsaws. So I haven't followed my own advice there. I'm just going to trim it along the top here, because I've actually put it too close to the fold and it's not folding very well. Even the coffee hasn't helped, has it? There we go. That's better. That, in theory, was the easy bit. So I need to work out, before I start decorating this, I need to work out which is going to be stuck to the remainder of the card. So in theory, that gets stuck to that. And that bit folds in, and then that bit gets stuck to the card at the end. So if we just run that through, that way, then these two will flip over. So what I'm going to do is take my pencil and just put a little S there and a little S there, because that's where I'm going to stick those two together. So I don't need them decorated. So now we're following through the card, we're doing that and that, which is all going to be decorated. That is going to come over there, so that is decoration. And then these two bits will be stuck together, and that gives me the end of my card. And obviously, stating the obvious, but make sure you put it up the right way. So I'm going to put an S on there for stick it, and an S on there. So hopefully, just double check myself. So there we go, that goes like that. Those two will be stuck together. The card unfolds like so. Those two are stuck together and it opens to the greetings. So that is good. So we're just now going to decorate this bit. So I've got, for that, I've got 3 pieces of Balmy Blue 3 by 3. I'm going to stick those on these 3. And then I've got one which is 3 by 3 of Night of Navy. And then I'm going to be adding this little square in the middle. So that was one of the stitch shape framelit squares. It's the largest one. And I've used sentiments from the Little Elephant, which is, I've got the balloons, and I've just got the balloons from that one. Then I've got Darling Baby from the Fable Friends. I've got Welcome from Animal Outing. And then I've just taken this sentiment from Strong and Beautiful stamp set, You're Amazing and That's a Fact. So I've just stamped, whoops, I stamped the balloons in Night of Navy, and then I've just added Wink of Stella to those. So I did my balloons first, and then I added my sentiments around the balloons. So that's the easiest way of doing it. I did it the other way, and it's not as easy to get the balloons where you want it, having stuck the sentiments down. So just a tip. So let's do that first. See if I can stick this down without issue. It's at this point that we're going to start to be adding some colour, because whilst it looks quite nice with all the with just the two blues, you kind of, it gets a little bit boring after a while. So you do need an injection of colour. So I've got a director and an assistant director, and they're both asleep. Chilling at least. Ollie looks slightly annoyed that somebody else is grabbing some of the attention, I think. But it's nice that Marley's turned up, because I know that a few people that watch the YouTube videos are aware that we've got two other cats. And somebody was saying the other day that you never see the others. So at least Marley's put in an appearance. We stand no chance with Timmy, do we?
He's fast asleep.
I know, he's always fast asleep. Unless it involves food, or he's having a mad 5 minutes and running around the house. And I have to say that I would kind of wish that he didn't do that when I'm in the middle of trying to do a film.
15.
Oh, there you are, right on cue. He's wailing. Why is he wailing? I'm just going to stick that in the middle. Oh, that's that bit done. So I'm just trying to work out what I'm doing. Okay, I'll think about that in a minute. So what I've used is the Animal Outing stamp set with the coordinating dies. Sorry. I'm getting stressed, can you not tell? Put those back before I lose those. And let me get my Animal Friends dies out. So I've got my coordinating dies that cut out the animals, so the kangaroo, the hippo or the rhino, I don't know, it's one of those, and a giraffe. So what I've done is I've stamped each of those out, and then I've coloured them in using some stamping blends. So I'm going with the kangaroo over here, so everything, these two are facing inwards, and then I've got the giraffe that's going to come over here. But I've also got some leaves that I've cut out using the tropical thin licked dies, and I haven't stamped anything, I've just literally used the dies to cut out the leaves. Love this set, I have to say. I've used it in all sorts of different things. I didn't think it would work on a baby car, but actually it does. So I've used that one, and I've used that one. So having coloured them all in, I've then cut them out with the Stampin with the dies. Now these are some that I've done earlier, and just a couple of things I wanted to say. That I went with a different colour on the horn, but imagine you've sat there and you've coloured all this in, and you're now going to put it through your big shot. The last thing you want to do is for the die to slip. So I'm using my magnetic platform, which in theory keeps the die quite nice and still, but it can still slip. And as I say, that is when you've done all that work, that is the last thing you want it to do. Now, if you've seen my videos before, you will have seen me do this time and time again. But if you've just joined me, I like to share this little tip with people because it just saves a lot of heartache when you've done all that colouring in and it goes wrong. So just by sticking that post-it note there, you're going to hold your die in place, and there is no way that as you run that through your machine, there's no way that it's going to go anywhere. I would do that, and I did do it, even though I'm using my magnetic platform. As usual, I have to say, you do not want one of these if you've got a pacemaker. But as I always say, you would know more about that than I would, but it is one of these. It's a very strong magnet, and there is a warning not to use it. So that tip works just as well on your normal base plates that come with the big shot machines. So I'm getting timing timing again. Yeah, so the same tip works if you're using your base plate. So just stick that onto your plate using a post-it note, and it won't go anywhere. So that's the first tip. Let me just put that down there. The second one was, I was colouring the kangaroo, and I've used Stampin' blends on here. Now it could be that I don't own every single Stampin' blend, but whatever I had the grey, smoky slate, the light one, but the little koala bear is just disappearing into nothing. So what I did with this one is I've just very, very lightly coloured him in using a Stampin' blend, no, not Stampin' blend, a blender pen. So I've literally just taken my blender pen on the smoky slate, just rubbed off a lot of the ink, and then I've just coloured him in so that you get to see his features, because he's quite small and he can very easily get lost under heavy ink. So again, just a little tip. I like to share my mistakes because that way you don't have to make them as well. So let's get to sticking this in. So is Timmy up here as well now?
Yes.
Yes. Can you come in here, Timmy, and say hello to everybody?
He's protecting the top step.
Okay. I have to remember what I did with this before. I had it coming around like that. I'm just trying to get a bit of background with some leaves here. One of those, I think. I don't think I like that one. Let's just with these. Do you want to just pause it a moment, please? So this is a very, very rare appearance. We're very honoured, aren't we? This is Timmy. We've been taking lessons from Ollie. As soon as somebody puts the camera on, you have a wash. Is that right? So I don't know what position you can have. Executive Director? You are the oldest, aren't you? So it's got to be something important. So all we don't want now is you lot to have a fight, do we? We try and behave ourselves for the next 10 minutes or so. I know it's unlikely. So, we were meant to pause the video. My cameraman got a bit carried away and pressed the wrong button. So this is now the third video that I will hopefully be able to stick together. I was getting nowhere fast, if I'm honest, and actually laying down some backgrounds and things, if you're doing it in a rush, it's never going to work. And particularly when I want to send the card off to somebody, I don't want it to be, I want it to be as good as it can be. So I've paused it so that, or stopped it, so that I could actually just lay out the leaves and see how it worked. I have to say, when I was putting it together initially, I was using one of these leaves, and can't remember where I put it, and it worked, but I'm trying it today and it's not working, so I'm actually going to leave that out. So the leaves are all done in Granny Green Apple, so maybe I'll start with the one that's nearest to me first. So I'm just going to be sticking the ends of the leaves. So I'm putting enough glue on them for them to stick. And when we've used these leaves before, if you find that you've got a few too many leaves, then they very easily get cut off with some scissors. And then we're going to stick the whatever he is.
It's a rhino.
He's a rhino, is he? Is it? Oh, that's right. The hippo. The hippo doesn't have horns.
Doesn't have horns. No.
I knew you watching Longleat Safari thing would be useful. I can picture a hippo now. So he's going to help to hold down the leaves. So we'll move on to the kangaroo. That's a koala bear as well.
Koala.
It's a koala bear, isn't it? In its pouch. It's not a baby kangaroo. It's. I know that doesn't necessarily happen in nature, but I think the idea was to get there's a frog as well in that set. We're just trying to get as many animals in there that you possibly could.
Rosie adopted.
Yeah. It's doing its bit for animal welfare. Okay. Just chop that leaf off. Try not to stick it where I've got some glue already on my pad.
So I have to say that I, for some time, steered away from stamping blends. Kind of the whole concept of it blending and everything else, I found a bit scary. But I've got into really using them, not necessarily as blending them to make fabulous pieces of art or anything, but they do make really good colouring tools for your projects. So all I would say is don't be, if like me you've been a little bit reticent of using them, just give them a try, because you can always work up to the blending bit. Now that in one piece really. Again, your liquid glue probably much more sensible. It's more yielding than this type of glue on something so delicate. But in theory, I'm hiding the bit that I'm sticking under the animal. So we're not going to see so much where the leaves have gone slightly wonky where they've been stuck. So we're sticking back there. I really want him coming off the corner of the page, or sort of here, because we don't want him looking like a, can't have him up here because he just looked like a beheaded giraffe, wouldn't he? Which would be a bit scary on a baby card. A bit scary on any card, to be fair. But so there we go. Yeah, no, less is more. I'm going to stick with that. So that's our middle bit done. So that bit goes over here. So I've got another bit here that's got to be decorated. And I'm just going to do something simple here. Basically a copy of something that we've done before. So that is the large square. So I've got a bigger white board around that one. And then this is the second square in the stick shape framelits, so the second largest. Stick that in the middle. And then I've got an elephant that I've made with the Balmy Blue as its main colour for its body. Let's stick that in the middle. So that goes over there. That bit's going to be stuck, so it leaves us with just this one to decorate. And we're going to do another elephant, but we're going to do it with lots of balloons, so we've got a really nice pop of colour in the middle of the card. So I've got a 3x3 piece of Balmy Blue. I've got the light of navy darker bodied elephant, and then I've just cut out a load of balloons using just oddments of card that I collect along the way.
Doesn't the end card go onto that?
No, the end card goes on to that bit, I believe. I will double check that though. No, so that will open like that. That's got the balloons on it, and that's going to be stuck to the end, and it will flap open. Always worth checking though. So I'm going to stick that onto the card. I guess you're getting the idea when I said this is not a card you want to make when you're in a hurry, and it's not a card you want to be making all the time, because who of us has got this much time to spare? Because I have to say the video is taking long enough, but if you then take into account the amount of preparation that I've already done before we're even filming, it is a card that you're going to make for somebody for something very, very special. Just not, it's not going to be something you're going to do every day, but it's nice to know how to do it. The elements are very, very simple. So I'm going to stick my elephant in the corner, and then I'm going to start with him actually having a balloon on his trunk, so we haven't got any issues going on with strings. Seems like a plan. So it's just a case of building that up as we go along. So I've just gone with, I went through my sort of little bag I keep of I don't keep every oddment, but if it's a reasonably sized oddment, at the end of the day, card is it's not expensive, but you don't want to be wasting it. So if you can keep some back, then it's always useful. You never know when you're going to need it for a little thing like a balloon or a daisy or whatever. I'm going to stick that one under there. I want to finish up with the blue one over here, so maybe I'll go with the green there. Yeah, perhaps I'll go with the green one. So I think that's probably enough. Better to have too many cut out than not enough. Just going to stick, just trap the end of that balloon under that top one. So we've got, that is our final piece of decoration. So all we've now got to do, she said, is stick it together. So I'm going to stick that to that. I can take this off because I've got bits of sticky glue on it. So we're going to do this bit first. I'm being generous with my glue there because there is quite a bit to stick. So that is my front of my card, and I need to stick that onto here. It's a nice song you're singing out there, Timmy. Breathe a sigh of relief. Right, so we've got that bit going. So we've just got to stick. It needs to go. I might stick a glue dot on there. See that coming to grief. So half a glue dot. Rolled up glue dot. And what I don't want that to do is to stick this bit as we fold it in. Sorry, it's one of these. I'm not happy with that.
You cut the top off.
Yeah, I look a bit silly, I think, with it. It's just catching on this. Needed to go, I think, slightly over there. Perhaps see what it looks like. No. Can you just pause it a moment, please? So the joys of live crafting. That didn't work, and the problem with it was that I'd got it too close to here and it was catching on this, so it's going to get damaged very, very quickly. I managed to take out the leaf that we'd stuck and tried to re-stick, etc. So I literally, with a pair of tweezers, I've just pulled it out, and another leaf, a new leaf, what I did was I sort of cut off about this much of the leaves, yeah, about 3 I think, and then I just had a long stem that I could then just prise up the kangaroo and stick it down with some snail on it, and I'm hoping that is the answer to it, but we will see. That goes there, that goes there. So just run this through again. Right, so that's okay. So we are now finally sticking this to this. And I'm going to go with this side onto that side because this is a lot flatter. So the glue area is going to be slightly less on here than it is on here. So I don't want the glue on the bigger bit. I want it on the smaller bit. It's minimal, but that is smaller than that. Purely by virtue of the fact it's bending over and encompassing everything that's inside the card. So this is going to need a nice lot of glue on it. Double-sided tape would also work. Now I'm making sure before I do the final bit of sticking that I've got it the right way up, and bated breath, I'm not quite sure the best way of doing this. There we go. So we have our finished card. And a cat hair. So the tablet's struggling a little bit, so I will try and hurry this along. So we've got those. and then we fold it over, and we've got where we put the little message that we'll obviously be writing. That all fits together and goes into your little pizza box. And then I'm just going to tie some of the polka dot tulle ribbon around the box, just to give it a bow and just make it look a bit pretty. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I know it's been a bit of a long mammoth one, and particularly those of you who've been asking me about it, I hope it has been helpful. And you can of course fast forward through the through a lot of it, because obviously you're not going to necessarily want to make the same designs etc that I've made, so it's like putting your own designs to it, but that's just the basis of how it works. As I've said before, I really love the pizza box, so I am super excited that we have in the new autumn winter catalogue a gold version. So that's going to be a lot of fun to play with. I'm going to be working on just a simple sorry, I'm going to be working on a simple gift box, so it's certainly not going to be a marathon card again, but that's going to make a really lovely gift box. So I think we've probably all had enough, including my tablet, so I'm going to say goodbye now. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give me a thumbs up, that would be brilliant, and if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would also be really good. Everything that I've used is available to buy via my online shop, and the link will be on the front as usual, as will all my social media links as well. So I will be back, I'm not sure what with, but I will be back very soon. So until then, it's goodbye from my director, my assistant director, my executive director who has disappeared, and of course my cameraman. So until next time, take care, bye bye.